What's up, everybody? Ben Reza here for Stokastic, and it is time. It's the Masters, the first major of the year. Cannot wait. Of course, we are ready here at Stokastic. We're going to dive into the slate. We're going to look at the prices. I'm going to use our data, the Sims tools, everything we got going on here, and talk about what we've got going on at Stokastic to hopefully craft some winning lineups we can celebrate as a community, cash some big money. We got milli makers up for grabs. I want to welcome you in. If you haven't been to Stokastic before, take a look around, see what we're about. All things DFS, tools, process, just really the ability to hopefully make the difference in these ever competitive tournaments. That's what we're about here. Want to welcome you in, though. Now, it's Masters week. We know what's going on. I'm going to run through very, very basic stuff, and then we're going to dive in to the board quickly. So it's a major, 89 players, top 50 in ties. It's Augusta. If you don't know about Augusta, I mean, it's the same course every single year. These guys know it. Par 72, you got to take advantage of these par fives, really fast greens, a lot of slope, tricky. There's could be weather. It's all madness. Uh, a lot of that I think is actionable. Some of it I think is not actionable. Key things for me. I do think experience matters, not necessarily dominant course history, but I do think just playing Augusta helps. I always reference Patrick Reed and Decky. I think they're great examples of guys that didn't have amazing course history, but they did have some course experience and they were able to incrementally get better and then break through. Doesn't mean that's going to happen for everyone. And we've seen Thigala and Will Z and some of these first time guys compete right off the bat and put up good finishes, maybe not win, but that's not always the name of the game. So for me, we've got that aspect. The weather is tricky because we're in delay territory. If there's a delay, everything you planned for kind of goes out the window. There could be a massive wave split. I think there could be no wave split. I'm going to group some tee times together, I'll be honest, but it's not something that I think is that simple because it's not a traditional tournament where it's like, oh, I'll just go early because there's weather. This is kind of more convoluted, and you have an 89-man field. It's not the same concept as a traditional PGA Tour field. So I'll say weather is a factor, but not overly important in terms of actionability. Don't even know if that's a word. Skill set. You can be aggressive off the tee. There's no doubt about it. You want to be crafty around the greens, but it's a major. You need everything. If there's a part of your game not working against the world's best plus live, good luck. You're just not going to be able to survive. There's no doubt about it. The winner of this tournament is going to play well. They're going to putt well. They're certainly going to take advantage of the par fives, and they're going to avoid those big hazards. Making bogey on 11 or something like that is not the biggest deal in the world. Making a quad is, and that's what you really have to avoid. I think we know, though. We know what we've got. We're going to dive in here, and let's start. Let's start doing it. We've got the board up. I'm on our data right now. Again, this is just the data hub, all part of the tools from contest generators. All this stuff is fantastic, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit. I get a little deal. We're running a sick promo for Masters that, again, is only available right now. I will bring that up on the screen in just a bit, but I want to talk about some of the golfers. Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm is back. Rory, my guy, Brooks Koepka. Wyndham Clark is the fifth 10K plus guy, and it seems wrong, but it's not given how good he's been. Xander, Neiman, and Hovland. So first thing that stand out, Xander is going to be popular. I agree with that. I do like Xander this week. A lot of people are picking him to win. He's picking up a lot of steam out there. Now, he's not performed. It's not to say he's been bad in majors. Far from it. But he doesn't have one. He was second at Players, fifth at Valspar, fourth at Genesis. He's been striking it, gaining tee to green everywhere. He's got to be a serious threat, and you can go balanced. Or the reason I think he's going to be popular, he is going to have a lot of lineups where he is the first player in 9,900 and below. He's going to have a lot of lineups where he is a +1 to Rory, to Rahm, or to Scheffler, or any of those guys. And that's where that double dip of ownership is really important, but he does grade out well. I like him this week. I'm buying on Xander. Obviously, I'm buying on Rory. I know there's a lot of drama around Rory in the Masters and getting the career Grand Slam. And it's been weird. I mean, he was third at Valero last week, which, again, I don't really care about that. I do like that his approach numbers were ridiculously good. His Masters short term has been very odd to me. He's missed a pair of cuts, which is just like you should never miss the cut at the Masters if you're someone as good as Rory. But in between them, he came in second. And before that, it was just perpetual threatening. Fifth, another fifth, and one of those was a melt on Sunday. So he has been all over the board. He's going to also be popular, and he should be. I like Rory a lot this week. I think the leverage could be Brooks, and I think the leverage could be Rahm. Scheffler. It's hard to really say much about him. He's the best player in the world by a significant margin right now. It feels like he's 12,100. It's not the easiest build with him. He's just really, really good. I don't want him to define my tournament. I'm going to have some exposure. He's not a marquee guy for me, but I would be, in my opinion, I don't think it's necessary to like full fade someone who's like 4-1 to win the tournament. He doesn't grade out overly outstanding, but as you can see on the projection, he has the highest projection, highest ceiling, the highest floor because he's Scotty Scheffler. As we scroll down a little bit, again, one thing on a macro level, a philosophy, it's not even a philosophy, it's just the truth. When you're in a major, you can't play every good player because there are too many of them. You have to make some stands. Doesn't mean you have to start full fading everybody, but you can't get overweight on everyone. It just doesn't work like that. So you're going to have to omit some of these players. And so we get to the nines, those decisions already start. Mentioned Xander, you've got Neiman, Hovland, Cantlay, Spieth, Will Z, Aberg, Decky. Tricky range. Hovland, I think, is interesting. Not my first click. That would be Xander. But Hovland has shown at times really can get it going. Then at other times, I think that Hovland has struggled with some of the skill sets that are required, not just here, but just in general. When you look at what he's been doing, let's bring it up. I mean, it's not overly impressive. He's lost in 5 straight around the green. That issue's flared up again. And he really hasn't threatened much. We haven't seen him as much either. He had a couple starts in Florida at API and Players, made the cut and did nothing. So he's just a name to keep an eye on. Again, I don't think Hovland is the most important situation here. Patrick Cantlay is another guy not playing to the height of his abilities. There's no doubt about that. But you're getting a little discount, similar to Hovland. We saw him at API in the Players, made the cut in both. He did nothing. He was good during Pebble and Genesis. That was a good swing for him. I think for me, these guys are not really the priorities. I do like Neiman. Don't love the price tag, but want to get some exposure to him. And then I want to go to Decky at flat 9. Decky's just been awesome. He's striking it. He's going to be popular. I don't think people will start with him, but at the same time, Decky's definitely going to get some ownership. So when I look to him, you're going to need a healthy amount, and I want to get over on Decky at 9K. When we look at Aberg and Will Z, I think those are pretty interesting tournament plays. If you go tee time stacks, if you go off the tee heavy, particularly with Aberg, we don't know. He's one of the newcomers, but he's answered the challenge at some big events already. He was 10th, top 10 at Farmers, second at Pebble, top 10 at the Players, 14th last week at Valero. The around the green, the putting, it could eat anyone up. He's not immune from that, but I do think that that's someone to consider. So priorities in the nines, Xander 1, Decky 2, probably Neiman 3, but there's a drop off from those first 2. I think I will make some balanced lineups that pepper this range and really look to it as we get to the 8s. We've got Cam Smith, DJ, Live Contingent, Justin Thomas and his new caddy, Tony Finau, Cameron Young, Morikawa, Homa, Bryson, Burns, and Lowry. So right off the bat, you start to see some interesting, and ownership will continue to update. I do want to mention that. But top of this range, and then we'll get to the rest of it. You've got Cam Smith and DJ are 2 live guys that aren't getting a ton of buzz. I think that's warranted, but it also creates an interesting situation in terms of leverage because these are the type of guys, if their game is okay, and if we had seen them on tour more, they'd probably be double the ownership, maybe even more. Are you willing to embrace that? Certainly not going to start with them, but if you landed in this range, would you rather go to the unknowns with Cam Smith and DJ or go to the more known with JT and Finau who we've seen? I think that's a reasonable question. I feel most comfortable with Tony Finau, but that doesn't mean that you can't pivot off these guys. And that is something that as this data continues to roll in, I will lean on the tools. I'll see what the Sims run give me. And honestly, I'm okay getting to those some of those guys. I mentioned this earlier. No better time now. I want to not say get this out of the way because this is for you guys. I want to mention this right now before I get too far down the rabbit hole. If you have not used anything and you are looking to the Sims, make sure you use this deal. The code is Masters, 40% off a month of PGA DFS packages. You pick your package, 40% off. That's going to take you right up to the next major. So it's not just, oh, I get this for a day and a couple showdown slates. Far from it. You're going to be able to see these tools in action for a nice runway and give yourself a lot of slates to see if it's the right process for you. And of course, it's never bad to save a little money. So use that code. The link is below. I would encourage you guys have seen. Listen, the Sims, the data. This is the type of process that can really take you to the next level. So I'm someone that integrated it seamlessly into my process. Now it's like I always used it, which was not the case. It was just very easy to combine with what I already did, and it just took it to the next level. As we work down, just zoom in a little here. Cam Young, Morikawa, Homa, Bryson, kind of a dead range for me. May get to some Morikawa, even though another guy who is struggling, no doubt about it. But if those irons get going, there's almost no one better on the earth with that ball striking, with those approach numbers. But we have not seen it. He has lost in 3 straight, and the putting has been horrendous, which is no surprise. So he needs to fix it in a hurry. It's not the best place in the world to find your game. Shane Lowry, very solid target, no doubt about it. People are going to play him. Weather, not a concern. Got a major. What's not to like? He's upwards of 60 to 1 in the betting markets. Again, if you want betting takes, go to Odd Chopper Golf. Specifically, me and Aton, we already did a show. It's posted and ready to go. But Shane Lowry is definitely a solid play at that number. We're crashing into the sevens. Fitzy, Harmon, Thigala, Day, Hatton, Sanjay, Connors, Fleetwood, Patrick Reed, Tom Kim. These are the type of guys. Uh, Definitely going to see some cash game viability with Connors. Definitely going to be popular. Fleetwood, even Fitzy. I don't know what to do with Jason Day, but let's start organizing. So I think Fitzpatrick fits a lot of what I was talking about before, in the sense that he hasn't been dominant at Augusta. He doesn't have a green jacket or anything like that. But last 4, 46th, improved to 34th, improved to 14th, improved to 10th last year. That's that type of progression. Now, it doesn't just mean he gets better and better every year. He has. But I like Fitzy's game in general. He's someone that I bought during Florida swing, and he showed up out of nowhere at the Players and came in 5th, rode that hot putter into Valero and came in 10th. Approach numbers have been solid. Off the tee numbers should be good here. I like Fitzy at 7,900. I think that's a very fair price for a guy playing some very good golf. Hatton is a tough one. Again, live is live. We don't know. It's always going to give you added leverage, but it's also going to give you added unknowns and risk. Corey Connors and Fleetwood make a ton of sense. I like both of them, but so does the field. I think both are very solid plays. When I look at my range, from Rory at the top to Xander in the 9s to Finau in the 8s, I think Fleetwood and Connors would be the guys in the 7s for me, with the roll of the dice of a Sanjay, who's been a wild card all year. Really tough to know what we're going to get from him. It's been really tough to know what we're going to get from him really all season. He had a terrible start to the season. Finally flipped it at API, came in 18th. Then he was 31st at the Players. And then he was awful at Valspar. He lost 10.8 strokes at Valspar around the green and putting. That is almost impossible, but he managed to do that. He's got to be better, but Sanjay is a gamer. He's got an all-around game that can translate. He's 7,600, and he is sandwiched next to Connors and Fleetwood, both guys who are going to be lightning rods for ownership, and he's just below Thigala. So when you do it like that, he suddenly becomes more interesting in the product of opportunity cost. That works both ways. It's a tougher click, but it's a tougher click for everyone else, and that is something to really consider. As we work down, we've got Patrick Reed, Tom Kim, Min Woo. This is where I think it starts to fall off a little bit, to be honest. It's not my favorite range. Reed is a gamer, but we don't know. I don't like Min Woo in the spot. Ricky's been a disaster, I'm sorry to say. Really not happening for him right now. Maybe a flyer. Russell Henley's going to be the chalk at this. He's going to be cash viable. People are going to go to him in small fields. And let's talk about why. So it's pretty easy. 1, the range is no good, so that helps. 2, 4th at Valero, 4th at API. Putting, gained four straight events with the putter, gained 3 or 4 off the tee, gained 8 strokes with the approach numbers at Valero. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you're looking for. He's been good for a while right now. The price is more than reasonable at 7,200. Russell Henley makes a lot of sense. And then, we look at his Masters, 30th in 2022, 4th last year. He is checking box after box. And that's why people are going to get to him. Now, Bhatia crashes the party. He wins last week and now is inserted at 7,200. A guy that I think a lot of people think Augusta's going to be a great course for him, and I'm not going to dispute that. We haven't seen it. This is his first go around here. Will he chip away at Henley's ownership, or will people just combine? I think it's more the latter. I still expect Henley to be very, very popular. Rose is the third guy at 72, and I actually have some interest in Justin Rose. He's got 2 decades of experience here. He's got numerous runner-ups. He was 16th last year. Now he's been playing bad. 64th, miscut in Florida, and the irons have not been good. But this is Justin Rose we're talking about. I can point to numerous majors where he came in with spotty form and he flipped the switch. Even last year, not that it was a major, but he came into the Players off miscut, and then he came in 6th. It happens more than you would think with him. It's just a guy at this point in his career. He's not going to have it week in and week out, but I do think he can optimize for the biggest events, and this is the biggest event. So you have a good range here from Henley to Bhatia to Rose to Siwoo to Adam Scott. I could make a case for all these guys. I do think Siwoo will be another guy. Right now we have him grading out over 10% ownership, and that is something to keep in mind. Doesn't mean you can't play him, but you're probably going to need a decent amount of him if you're looking to get a healthy leverage spot. So just, again, I want to make sure people are aware of that as we look. It's not a ton down here. Again, I think you have to be careful when you start to get here. You're going to need some value, but for me, I'm going to hone in on this range. Henley, if I don't care about ownership. Rose, if I want to roll the dice. Siwoo and Scott, kind of in that same vein. Nothing too aggressive with them, but playable. So we've talked about all the ranges. Now we're getting into the dumpster dives. And again, I just want to reiterate, we've got so much content here at Stokastic. Find what works for you. Whether it's signing up for the Sims and using the Masters promo, which is fantastic, 40% off that month. We're getting lineup generator. We're going to Odd Shopper if you enjoy betting. We've got you covered. And just super happy. If you have any questions at all, in Discord, which is part of these packages, get in there. We have great support. We have a community that is using the same tools. We're all helping each other, finding new strategies, finding edges, and talking through things. So we're happy to help. We want the feedback. These tools are here for all of us. We're improving them rapidly. And it's because of all that awesome feedback. So I just want to make sure people are aware of the Discord portion of all this. Let's talk about the end of the 7s and the beginning of the 6s, where we've got English, Taylor, Phil, and then we crash into the 6s. When you look at this, I really don't have any interest, certainly not playing Phil. Here in the top of the 6s, I'm okay with getting to some of these guys. I think this is where secondary things become more important. Skill set stacks, tee times, weather thoughts. What are you looking for? Cam Davis, if you think it plays easier and you say par 5 scoring is what I'm after, okay, I totally get that. JT Poston, if you think it becomes like some type of iron competition, okay, I get that. Sergio, if you want to go on the experience route, he was 2nd at Live Miami just in his last start. He's been bad since his win here. He's missed 4 cuts, but he still has it, in my opinion. He's a good driver of the ball, and there's no one with more experience than Sergio. At 6,800, can he grind through a cut for you and give you some placement points on the weekend? I think he can. He's in the pool for me. Tiger Woods is at 6,800. I don't think I can click that. I hope he stays healthy. That would be really cool to see. I'm just not sure why I would need to go there at this point. He's not going to be popular, and he shouldn't be. There's just too many other players. He may be able to grind through a cut. I just don't know how often Tiger gives you any upside whatsoever here. As we work down, again, separating guys, you've got Ryan Fox, Keegan, and EVR. Those are off the tee specialists more so than some of these other guys. You've got Hadwin, Thunderbear, Thorborn Olesen. Interesting thing about him, 3 for 3 and made cuts at the Masters. It spans over a decade, which is kind of weird because he doesn't get in here all the time. But when he has, he's been pretty good. He was 14th at Valero as well. He missed 3 straight cuts before that. But Olesen is the type of name. If you're building, something in the $5, in the $10 that has 400,000 people, he could be in that pool, I think. He is a tournament-centric guy because when you get the best version of him, he putts and he drives, and that is the Cam Champ formula that can be super effective anywhere. If it's bad, it's bad. I mean, if the irons aren't there, the irons aren't there. You're talking about a $6,500 player. That's kind of the risk you have to take down here. But if you told me, looking at what I have on the screen right now, that someone comes in the top 10 from this page, I'd say it's Olesen. Him or Kitayama would be the two that I think have the biggest shot to really go ceiling. Floor, that's a little different. There really is no floor down here. Bubba, if you want to lean on just a guy who knows Augusta inside and out. But again, what have you been doing, Bubba? What is Liv getting these guys ready for? Charles, same thing. Moronk, same thing. And now we're at the bottom. This is where it really falls off. Like maybe Charles for me, but as you can see, this is a range that is devoid of basically anything. I have negative interest in any of these guys. I do want to talk quickly about Denny McCarthy. Interesting name, no doubt about it. He is as close as you can be to getting a win without winning. Valero was brutal, lost in the playoff, but he's been playing good golf. Now he's Denny McCarthy. He's the best putter in the world. And if he's not the best putter in the world, he's on the short list for best putters in the world. You're going to see him correlate strongly to Scheffler lineups. You're going to see him correlate strongly to double 10K lineups because his price point is very, very cheap. We'll keep an eye on where this ownership goes. Right now, he's overwhelmingly popular relative to the range. That's because the range has no reasonable options. Can you play Denny McCarthy? I mean, I definitely think it's someone to consider. But unless you're building with the mindset, like, I have to have this build, and he's the only way it makes it work, I'm not running to the window to do that. I'll be honest. I would much rather land scrolling back up in this range where we've got some guys that I feel a lot more comfortable with. Even this range with Benyon and Keegan and EVR and Hadwin over getting down here where I think there's going to be it's not that I think, I know a lot of these guys are just not going to make the weekend. And if you don't make the weekend at the Masters, your lineup is in major trouble. This is an 89-man field with top 50 and ties. It is not easy to make the cut, but it's certainly not like a US Open level. And for that reason, I'm not going to be messing around with a ton of this. Again, Charles, maybe some Denny, but it's not anything crazy in my portfolio. So there we have it. Again, ran through all of this. I'm going to throw all this into the Sims, into the contest generator, and we're going to see what we get. I can't wait to see what the lineups look like, to be honest. I know for me, Rory up top with some combination of these type of guys, and then getting into the 8s and 7s and seeing what I need. Do I need that safety so I could go to Corey Connors? Do I need that pivot so I can go to some of these guys that maybe aren't getting nearly the ownership, the Ty Hattons, Sun Jays, Justin Roses? It's going to be a blend. It's all about making that lineup work on several levels, and that's what these tools can do. They can help you do that, to say, okay, this lineup is too popular, this lineup has good leverage, this lineup has really good positive ROI, and then you roll the dice, and you hope that you can get there. But again, it's the Masters. I can't wait to see it, and I really, really hope that we can see some of the members here at Stokastic take down some big tournaments, put those avatars up, and we'll celebrate together. If you have any questions at all before I get out of here, hit me up on Twitter at JazzRazDFS. I'm dropping golf content there. Of course, I'm over at Odd Chopper and Odd Chopper Golf as well. And here at Stokastic, just let me know. Happy to help in any way I can. Let's just enjoy the first major of the year. Doesn't get any better than this in the golf world. I plan to soak up as much of it as possible. So for me, for Stokastic, and for the entire major field, Masters field, good luck. Enjoy the tournament, and I'll talk to you guys soon.